And then we took the massive leap in 2021 to go and race Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain.
You went straight into Carrera
Yeah,
Cup.
no, it's a really good idea,
Okay,
that, isn't it?
Let's go from like a Mustang into a,
yeah, literally.
Amazing.
So racing like a few higher horsepower stuff, but I'd never driven anything with more than about 200 horsepower as an actual racing car.
Right.
So when I first went to drive the Porsche in 21, I couldn't even get the thing out the pit lane.
Really,
it was really funny. It was one of those typical March days at Snetterton where it's just so ridiculously cold. Like dry, but ridiculously cold.
Standard day at Snetterton. Yeah, it's either roasting hot or freezing cold, isn't it? Yeah.
100%.
So it's never anything
in between. It's never just nice. But as soon as I turned the pit limiter off, it just immediately spun up one way. Then I came off the throttle again and then went back for it again and then spun up the other way. And I was like, oh my word, I can't do this. And it's like as you go through the day, you start getting more and more comfortable with it. And it was enjoying it by the end of the day. But it was certainly a bit of a culture shock to start with.
Yeah, I bet. And what did you... So... Up to the age of 16, right? So this was actually the thing that I'm really interested in. It was like, I remember you saying something about you used to do dancing. When was this, and what sort of age were you when you did this, or do you still do it?
This one was that competition that we're looking at there. I just grabbed it off an old Instagram account.
Yeah.
But that is what's called the Bournemouth Summer Festival, and it goes on at Bournemouth every year. It's a UK closed competition.
Yeah.
But I must have been. You know what? I'm about 18, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, 18, 19.
So you were still doing that while you were doing your racing?
But I did very little racing. I was instructing.
Yeah.
I started instructing in, 2017, I believe.
Brands.
At Brands Hatch. So that would have been the same year, actually, that I started instructing.
Right.
So I was instructing and using the money from instructing to pay for my dancing.
For your dancing?
It's very expensive. Not as much as motorsport, but it is very expensive.
So when did that come about? Did you do that from a young age?
From a young age, yeah. So when we moved house, we initially lived in Kent, and I was born in Pembury.
Okay.
We lived in Spelter, so I'm a Kent boy.
Pembury, not as in Wales, Pembury?
No, there's a Pembury just outside Royal Tunbridge Wells.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm a Kent boy through and through.
Right.
So on the side of my race helmet, I have the Invicta for Kent, and it's like the little symbol.
When you say Royal Tunbridge Wells, that sounds very posh to me.
Yeah,
it's not Corley Kent, is it, mate?
It's not Corley Kent, is it? Yeah, I suppose it's the kind of the slightly posher side. You got Tunbridge and you got Tunbridge Wells,
right?
And they kind of a bit of a trade off with the two. But we were outside, we were Speldhurst, but we had a workshop in Tunbridge.
Right.
So that's where it kind of all started, really. And my dad was from South London, so then moved into Kent and that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. And then you did the dancing. From what sort of age then?
Right. Yeah. So dancing story. So I must have started doing jazz dancing when I was about 6 years old, something like that.
Right.
And I have a twin brother as well, which actually I should have put a photo of my twin brother in
way.
there. Actually, yeah.
Cool, man.
So we are identical twins, look exactly the same. Always we were growing up. Now we're a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because he still does the dancing, so we were doing it at the same time. Basically.
So jazz dancing, what's?
So it's almost like a modern contemporary kind of thing that you do in shows, or if you look at like music concerts, the background dancers, that kind of thing. So kind of like jazz dancing, kind of contemporary. And we started doing that. My brother and I were kind of the oldest in the class, so we were kind of wanting to pick things up quite quickly and do all these kind of things with dancing, and it kind of wasn't really going anywhere. But my mum used to do competitive ballroom and Latin American dancing.
Is that where it came from? Do you think
it
was your mum's influence?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
She said, I used to do this. Why don't you give it a go?
Yeah.
Went to a class. My brother and I absolutely loved it. It turned into a one-time thing, which turned into an every week thing, which turned into a multiple times a week thing, which turned into Team GB and international competition and all these kind of things.
No way.
So the highest I got to was, they are like different standards. You got professional, and then you got amateur, and there's no real difference between the two.
Right.
It's a bit strange. It's a bit like unlike racing, where you've got your bronze, silver, gold.
Yeah.
But you've got the professional category, and then you've got the amateur category, and so there's not really a difference in the standard. It's just like a kind of exam, and how much teaching you do, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just under that, there's one called pre-championship level, which is almost like your pro-am competitions kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like in racing terms.
Yeah.
So it's like just under like the pro level.
Yeah.
And I was doing kind of like European competitions with that, and I got second in the European Championships.
No way.
In pre-championship level.
Where were they held then? Were they
so that was
Belgium
at Blackpool.
Like that?
Yeah, that one's actually at Blackpool.
No way.
At the Winter Gardens.
I'm in Blackpool tomorrow, actually.
Oh, you
yeah.
amazing.
The Winter Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So that was at the Winter Gardens.
Is that quite a well-known venue? I don't know.
For ballroom dancing. It's massive. Right. All the biggest UK competitions are held there.
Right.
Basically, you've got there's loads. There's so many competitions you can just literally buy a ticket and go to.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it's so much better than Strictly because the dancing's it's what these people train for.
Right.
I was training to do this even at at the age there in 2017. I was training 5 days a week. Something like that on dancing, yeah.
I bet that'll keep you fit then.
100%, yeah, totally. And it's all, it's obviously all heavy cardio, but it's all interval training as well because on Strictly Come Dancing, they do one dance, which is a show routine anyway. It's not like proper. It's not like a proper cha-cha or it's not a proper paso doble or not a proper waltz. It's kind of slightly showified. They have basic technique in there.
Yeah.
And they have the basic steps and what you kind of should be doing. But it's kind of, it's TV-ified, which is exactly it. No one would want to sit and watch a whole TV pro. Yeah. No one's going to want to sit and watch a whole TV program of, the way that it is done in normal competition. Yeah. It's like the difference between someone watching Formula One casually and then watching a random kind of 6 hours of Burkitt or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing.
That would be shite boring.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's
good to be involved. But
perfect, nice showified, really, really good. So I can't remember where I was going with that now.
I can't remember. Well, I was just kind of generally asking you about your dancing. It was just when it came up, and I was like, I remember you telling me about this, and it's fascinating. So I'm guessing that would have given you the discipline to, carry on something like through the week. It's like you're not going to have much of a social life if you're dancing.
No, this is it. But also, I was homeschooled.
Were you?
Yeah,
right.
So that's another story. Right. So,
no way. Yeah.
Education systems.
Yeah.
So, I was born in 1998, same as my twin brother, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you definitely wouldn't get away with this now. But what happened is my dad had a shop in Blackfen, selling old MG car parts, as well as a workshop in Tunbridge. And my mum was kind of looking at, there's three of us as well. So there's James and I are twins. And then we've got my little brother, 2 years younger, but Ali. And he's actually subsequently my number one mechanic on the Porsches and is like properly ingrained, very, very good mechanic now.
Right.
Yes, so she had to deal with us three boys, which could be a bit of a task in itself.
Yeah.
But James and I were meant to be going to a school, all sorted, local school in Speldhurst, no problem, all sorted. It was about the week before the first day of term, and they ring up and say, we haven't got enough desks. And my dad, being a London boy, goes, that's all right, I'll go buy another desk. Apparently it wasn't that simple.
Right.
So anyway, they say that the next school is, 20, 30 miles away. It's actually quite a distance. And my mum was like, well, that's not going to work because there's one of me. We're not going to get rid of the shop because the shop was doing very well at the time.
Right.
In Blackfen, and then the workshop was doing all right. We were very much in the midst. This is going to be early 2000s ish.
Yeah.
And by that point, we were doing the Halfords Engine Minute Challenge. Like all the cars on the grid had my dad's engine in their cars. And it was
right.
Really, so it was both businesses were doing really, really well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an option. So they said, okay, why don't you start homeschooling and see how it goes? And basically, my mum started homeschooling, and after that, the education system just never checked up on us.
Amazing.
She just fell through the whole system.
Just said, this is what we're doing.
Totally.
Yeah.
But even what was really strange, it was like, what made me realise was when I went to get my UTR number to become a taxpayer and start working at Brands Hatch. And
you were off the grid.
I was off the grid.
Like John Connor. Amazing.
John Connor.
Fully off the grid. Go back there. You need to stay, especially what's going on with the shit in the country at the moment.
Just true.
Stay off the grid.
There's
a lot of people are going to do homeschooling now, though.
100%.
It's just like seeing well, I won't go into the politics too much. It's like, fucking hell, that's.
But what's crazy is that, motorsport has to work, or teaching something of any kind has to work, because I've got no GCSEs, no A-levels, none of those. I did take...
So on paper, you're as thick as shit then, really.
On paper, I am literally, Get me behind a laptop and some data, but other than that, I'm done, But what's really interesting with that is then to prove I could learn something, because it's obviously a bit of a thing having on your CV that, you know, I've got nothing of a school, because I didn't go to school.
Wow.
So instead, I learned to play music. So I played classical guitar.
Right.
And did my grade 8, all that kind of thing. And that's when my first job started, because I was guitar teaching.
No way.
Yeah.
That's such a random background.
So I've had such a kind of entrepreneurial life to this point where I go for something, fixate on it, and then maybe the next thing happens. But I mean, I know motorsport is the one that's going to stick, because it's just... you know what it's like. There's no feeling like it, and there's so many opportunities for business within the sport.
I should have probably get you to bring guitar down. That would have been mega. Get the amp in.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, no. So that was a really, really good time. I've not played for a while because it's like life takes over.
Yeah. What sort of stuff? So you played classical stuff. So
classical stuff. So kind of like 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, old music.
No way.
Then did that for a while. Started teaching that, and then branched off a little bit, as all musicians do, I suppose.
Yeah.
And found a real love for the mandolin, which so the mandolin is like a dual. It's technically 4 strings, but there's 2 of each string.
Okay.
So it's technically 8 strung, but there's only 4 different notes you can play without your left hand.
Right.
And it goes through as doubles, and it's all doubled up. It's a style called bluegrass, which is real like country and western style. Basically, it's a violin with strings, and that's noted.
Right.
Basically.
Mandolin win. Rod Stewart. Yeah, love a bit of that.
Yeah. So Wow. So I've had a bit of an interesting, different upbringing, basically.
Yeah. Quite bohemian in some ways. Do you know what I mean? Like if you know, playing 15th century or 16th century guitar and mandolin, and now you're racing British touring cars.
It's strange when you say it like that, isn't it? Really? Yeah.